What's up, everybody, and welcome back for another exciting episode of Switch Talk 2, the perfectly pocket-sized podcast for fans of this amazing hybrid console that has stolen our hearts and minds, the Switch 2. I am here a little bit sick. I've been sick for a good part of the week, and my voice is kind of going out, so I won't be talking as much. Hopefully, I will be addressing questions to my best bud here, Clay, the big man Howard, and David Double D Jones is with us as well. So this we're gonna just jump right into the topic. It's a very unique episode because we have a very Nintendo move. They went and re-released a new Virtual Boy. So we're going to be talking about that today. I wanted to just get my little story out of the way because I don't have much to say about this. I never owned it, but when I was young, I was in the grade school lunchroom, and a kid, for some reason, had this there during our lunch period, and the teacher let us play with it and everything. And that was my only experience with this thing, guys. Like, I just played it at that one time. I think I've tried like 3 games for just a few minutes, and I still remember it. It's ingrained in my head as a memory about how it looked and how it felt to play. But that is my only experience. Now, we have an expert in our midst because you, Clay, you invested in this thing. You jumped right in. I watched your unboxing video, and I want to tell everybody out there to watch the unboxing video on Megadad's YouTube channel. It's really well done. Get a really great view of his background, of his man cave like gaming setup, and it's fantastic. But the hardware looks cool. Without a doubt. All right. So I realized when we were starting this episode that we didn't give a podcast friendly explanation of what the Virtual Boy is, because that's what's featured on today's episode. If you watch on YouTube, the Megadad's YouTube channel, you're going to have some type of visual. We might just like loop the unboxing because it's going to be hard to capture the gameplay. But I want to explain what this is for people who listen to our audio feed only. So the Virtual Boy was originally released by Nintendo back in 1995, and it was this weird, like, early attempt at 3D gaming. And it's think of like a headset that you would see today, but like smaller. It's all red. Obviously the technology was a bit lighter, a bit simpler back then, but it's stereoscopic 3D games is what it played. And it's just putting it to your face, and similar to like headsets today, you're seeing a 3D image, and the games would play out in 3D in that way. It originally launched for $179, which is about 360 current US dollars, which is like crazy. And yeah, so it was a strange experiment by Nintendo. Let's get back to the show. But in that video, Clay, you said that you never owned it, which blew my mind because I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Not the Clay I know. He would have owned an obscure thing like that, and not only that, like the nostalgia did not play a part in you investing in such a thing. So that was my big question to kick things off. Is like, why did you jump in?
All right, yeah, that's a super valid question. Well, to start, I would not call myself the professional on the subject because I'm very similar to you, Tony. Have little experience with this console. David probably is probably the resident pro here. I actually don't know how much you have. All right, he's shaking his head too. So
I
none
played
of
it
us
at a
are.
store display, and then I played
Okay.
the games on other ways later.
Yep. Okay. Which is pretty similar to me. So I played it one time in a Blockbuster, and that
I
was
love
it.
that. I
And
didn't know that they
so,
did that as a display thing, huh? That's cool.
yeah, they had a little kiosk or something. But yeah, and that was back in, I don't know, 95, probably 96. It came out in 95. So I don't imagine it sticking around much longer after that because it didn't do so super good. But anyway, to answer your question, Tony, the reason I took the jump, and I was on the fence about it, but then I finally just decided I needed to take it, was I view myself as a collector. I've been collecting Nintendo stuff for quite a while now. I don't even know how many years it would be at this point, but this is one console that, for whatever reason, well, for a couple reasons, I've never owned. I've never had a Virtual Boy. If I wanted to, I could go on eBay right now and buy one, and I could have like done it, but I just never did. Um, I have a couple friends who are collectors who own them, and from everything I've heard, they just are notorious for having issues. A good friend of mine has had one for a long time, and like the left eye on it has like always just been out, and you got to like send it in to somebody to get it fixed. Who's going to fix these things? There's very few people, and obviously they're not the cheapest to own, and so there's just a lot of variables that made me a little apprehensive to own one. So when Nintendo finally said, "Hey, you can actually own one that's relatively close to the experience that it was back in the day," like that was kind of my opportunity of like, okay, this is probably my one and only chance to own something that will at least feel similar to the experience that people had with the original. And so, at the very least, at the end of the day, even if I don't play it that much, I could at least put it on my shelf and it looks super cool. And I'm like, you know what? For $100, I should just bite the bullet and do it. And spoiler alert, I'm super glad that I did, because I'm having a blast with it so far. And yeah, I think that I appreciate that Nintendo uh, took the opportunity to say, hey, you know what, this isn't the most popular thing in the world, but and it didn't do well back in the day, but we're still going to put this out. And so yeah, that was kind of my thought process behind it.
That was going to be my first question. Now that you've played it, was it worth the money? As people may or may not know, this is a like a kind of limited release type of quirky product that we have, similar to like Labo, but they have a $99 actual plastic reconstruction of the original Virtual Boy. As far as we know, it's the specs, right? Like that's a recreation of it,
Yeah, as far as I
basically.
can tell, I mean,
And
it's got unusable controller ports that are just kind of like, you can see
it's
them, but they're
it's
not
like a
actual.
replica almost. It's
Right.
interesting. And then they have the actual cardboard. They have the cardboard, like, is it 20 bucks, $29 or something like that, to achieve the same thing somehow. And I was going to bring that up later, but I want to give David a chance. I have two questions for you, David. One is your original, going back when I originally played it and experienced it as a kid. My takeaway at the end of it was cool, but I never felt like I went home and like wish I had one. It seemed
Mhm.
to be a flash in the pan kind of failure originally. So my first question is, what was your impression of it back then? And then you didn't pull the trigger on this? Why?
Um, I think it was probably similar to you. It was just like, well, that's cool. Also, this doesn't seem that fun to like have up to my face for hours on end. And I think I can't remember the original retail price, but I mean, obviously too. I mean, I would have been a kid. I didn't have money to like spend on something like this. And like a
I think
Game Boy at least had a purpose. Like I could take it places, and it was, I don't know. It just seemed like it was this thing that I would have at home. It would sit there, but wouldn't be as good as like my Super Nintendo. So like,
On your point, really
why?
quick, the original launch price of this, back then, back in the day, was $179.95, which accounts to equivalent to roughly today's dollars, $360 is what it was. But continue.
Um, yeah, that's too much for what this is. And like the Wario Land game has always intrigued me, and
Hmm.
that's as I really loved the Game Boy one, and the Wario Land for this is kind of like this. It feels like this lost game in between Mario Land 1 and 2, so it's a really cool like relic. But other than that, like, really any games that will like make like would really make you want to buy this unless you already had access to it.
And speaking of that, speaking of the games quickly, it originally had a max of 22 games. We got 14 now. We're going to get more later. And then two previously unreleased titles somehow. I don't know, even know, they were canceled right before release. It's so weird that in such a niche system that happened. But Very interesting. And then, David, if you have any questions for Clay, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I guess just what would be like comparison to how you remember it to like experience it this new way now. Does it feel like a comparable experience? Is one better than the other, or just I guess general thoughts on
The
that?
you mean the original versus the one now or
Yeah,
whatever?
is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
the
like that, like
exact
playing
same?
through it. Yeah, does it? And part of it might also be like memories of versus now versus then, where you may have viewed it a different way now as you do that. So
Right.
just looking at it now, this new way of experiencing these games, does it make you like kind of reevaluate how you felt about it before or change anything?
Okay. Yeah. So I can't remember enough of the experience when I was a kid to like compare it. I would literally have to have an original one and in this one sitting side by side and look at both of them to figure it out. But as far as I can tell, it's a pretty comparable experience that as far as I'm aware. Um, it looks really good. It's still achieving that 3D effect. When you first boot up the system, it has you move this slider, not a physical slider, but just through through your controller, and you can kind of pick where the 3D looks most right to you. And so that was kind of interesting. But overall, it looks great. It's achieving that 3D visual. It sounds pretty good, which is surprising because you can't use headphones on this. When it goes in there, there's no way
What?
to plug anything in.
Wow.
But I don't fully understand where the sound is going in there. Like I know that there's speakers built into that thing, but somehow they figured out how to channel it so that it comes right at you. And so maybe the audio on the original would be better than this. I don't know, but as far as everything I can tell, I'm really impressed with it. Certain games look better than others, and I think that's just kind of a stylistic choice of whatever game you're playing. Some of them are very simplistic, where it's just like just kind of 3D wires, kind of polygonal outlines almost. And then there's some that are really like intricate sprite work where it's got a lot more details to it. And so it just depends. Depends what they're going for with the game. But I kind of forgot how old this thing was. And so I was expecting like Super Nintendo type graphics, and I guess it's kind of there, and then it's kind of not. I don't know. And so,
It's all
but
red.
overall,
It's all red pixels, correct? Or
yep, everything
so
is red.
red pixels.
Um, yeah, they're
3D.
all. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, everything's pixelated. Even the 3D ones where it's more 3D, it's still pixel based or whatever. And so, but yeah, I guess overall I'm pretty impressed with how it looks and feels and how easy it is just to kind of put your face up in there and get going with it. Like it's not overly difficult, and the padding that they put on this, I don't know if it's similar to the original, but it's real soft and easy to put your face on. So I haven't had any issues with headaches or anything. I haven't played for like hours on end because nobody looks at a screen, whether it's VR goggles or whatever, for like super long periods of time. But I mean, for the amount of times that I've been playing, haven't really had any issues. And when I pull my head out of it, it's nice that it's on a stand because it's real easy to just go in and then look up at your dog and say hi and then go back into your game. Whereas when it's strapped to your head, it takes more to like take a headset off. And so I kind of like the table thing. Your body gets a little uncomfortable after a while, especially at one point I like put it up on some books so that it was right at my head level. And then I've also been kind of putting it down and looking down into it, and both
Sweet.
seem to work pretty well.
My next question was about the games. Like, does anything stand out? I mean, and it's funny that you had mentioned the Wario game because that's what one of the like because I had played 3 games or so. That was one of the ones that's just ingrained in my mind. Like playing this is for some reason or another a core memory of mine. I see it very clearly, very easily. But what is like what's super fun or stand out or interesting or uses the technology, that 3D to great effect?
Yeah. So, um, to start off, I'm very disappointed that Mario Tennis isn't included currently. I know
Oh,
it's
they're gonna
coming
try to get
later.
it out of you later. Okay, yeah.
I think they're trying to string us along or something. I don't know, but it was a pack-in title that came with the system. So the fact that it's not included is a little bit of a weird thing. And when you're
That's
setting up,
blatant, dude.
right? And when you're setting up the 3D setting, like I was talking about, it's literally an image of Mario Tennis.
Oh my
And
god,
so,
what a they knew exactly
yep,
what they were doing. That was such a Nintendo move. Oh
right.
man.
So that's a bummer, but whatever. I'm looking forward to it coming eventually. Yes, I think Virtual Boy Wario Land is probably the best game on this one for sure. Really enjoy it. It's one of those platformers where you can jump into the foreground. I guess it's just the background. I don't know if there's a foreground. Maybe there is later. Um, so that's kind of cool. Looks great, plays great. I'm definitely going to play that one through to the credits. I've always wanted to complete that game, so that one's great. Galactic Pinball is pretty good. It's a little different in that the pinball isn't actually like a ball; it's more like a puck, and so it's like hockey pinball, and it feels flatter. Like the play surface is a little bit flatter, and so it just moves a little bit slower and it acts differently. But I like pinball games, so I enjoyed that one. Um, some of these is just you have to like figure out the controls, and this it doesn't do the best job with explaining the controls. So there's a boxing game, and I could just never figure out. Like I figured out how to punch, but then I couldn't figure out how to block. It took me a while. 3D Tetris was a little. I thought I was gonna really like it, and it was just kind of okay. Um, but once again, probably need to just get a little bit more used to it. It's unique in the fact that you're looking down and the things are falling downward. It's kind of cool. Golf is great. I'm kind of bummed that it's not Mario Golf. It's kind of like normal people golf, but it still plays really good and has some really cool 3D effects with like hitting the ball and stuff. The Mansion of Innsmouth is this like first person
Whoa.
thing where
Okay.
you're walking through this haunted mansion and you can like turn down
I've never
hallways and
heard of
go.
that one. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I don't know if that was one of the ones that was like canceled or not, but you have a little cursor and you can aim it and shoot. So it's kind of like a first person shooter, but it's like one of those
Whoa.
real clunky, like press forward to go to the next hallway. Boom, boom, boom. And so I was having trouble with that, but it was kind of cool. And then lastly, I think that leaves Red Alarm, which is this Star Fox looking shooter where that's the
Damn.
one that's mostly just kind of lines, and I forget what the word is for that, but still really fun and has some interesting button mechanics and stuff to it. As I'm thinking about this, the one thing I'm kind of bummed about is that there's no controller for this. Like if you look at the Virtual Boy controller, this thing is like super like weird looking. And I wish they would have made like a Virtual Boy controller that you can play with it. Obviously playing with the Pro controller or Joy-Cons or whatever is fine, but I don't know. It works fine, but I wish that they had sold the controller too. I realize that would have bumped things up to like $150, but overall, most of the games are pretty fun and I think are give you a good view of what the system can do. And so definitely looking forward to them dropping more games. But I think there's a good variety to start with that can keep you busy for a while. So
I I had two questions for both of you. Like it, and forgive me for this. This is a very ignorant thing. This is stereoscopic 3D. As someone who never like I never even Googled or figured out how the Nintendo 3DS worked. Like to me, to this day, it's magic. I swear to God, I have no idea why. I just never cared to look into it, and I don't know how this works. Do either of you guys know? And can you explain it to me like I'm five? Like, um, at the end of the episode, I'm gonna do like a quick recap about what this thing is to someone, because some of our listeners are audio only. So we'll talk a little bit more about the basics. But I honestly don't know how this works. Do you? Can you tell me?
I can try based off reading a wiki article.
Oh, so you don't know too. So it's not
No,
just me. Like
no.
stereoscopic 3D. Did you know how the 3DS worked?
I know a little bit more about that one. I know
Okay,
that,
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm
yeah.
not like super like ignorant or whatever, but please tell me. I have no idea what the hell.
So this is the Nintendo's first 32-bit system, which I
Okay.
was wondering about that. But basically, it uses a pair of 1 by 224 linear arrays, so one per
Hmm.
eye, and rapidly scans the array across the eye's field of view using flat, oscillating mirrors. These mirrors vibrate back and forth at a very high speed, thus the mechanical humming noise from inside the unit. Each Virtual Boy game cartridge has a yes-no option to automatically pause every 15 to 30 minutes. So I wondered about that. It kept asking me about an automatic pause. But yeah, so there you go.
To not
Oscillating
scramble
mirrors,
your
I guess.
brain? Dude, how does this technology exist? David, speak up, please. You're in like IT or some shit. What the hell is this?
I'm not an expert on 1995 3D technology.
Okay, so do you know how this works, like with the 3DS or with this, where
I
our
mean,
eyes are here,
yeah,
the
usually
screen is
it's
here?
rendering 2 images, one for each eye or something like that.
Yeah, but how does it know? Like the 3DS was looking at my eyeballs?
Like the 3DS, I understand less, to be honest,
Okay.
because
Damn,
anything that
this
you're
is
putting
fun.
like
I'm
a
so
goggle
glad I
on,
asked
all it
this
has to do
question.
is render 2 images for each eye, and then like kind of,
Right. Yeah, I
whereas the
get that.
3DS didn't use that, so it did something else. Because I think it was kind of like, remember those like little 3D images where you'd put up to your face and
Oh,
slowly like
yeah,
take them
yeah.
away.
Yeah, like
I think
magic
it was
eye
doing
type thing.
something like that, where your eyes just kind of like focused a blurry image together or something.
I'm glad I asked. And let's just call it the thing about this that interests me was the magic of it, because being ignorant of the technology, I was like, oh cool. Like, and to this day, again, I respect this and I respect the 3DS for what it's doing, right? It's a very unique experience. And for me, I am glad this is out because it proves that Nintendo's still doing weird stuff. It may just be tapping into the endless like cash that is nostalgia, and that's something they're known for. But this is weird Nintendo, and weird Nintendo is good sometimes. So I'm glad that Clay is having a good time with it. The other question I had for both of you is, and this I didn't think about this before, but after what you're saying, this technology is pretty cool to look at, and there is an unreleased title or two coming. Would you be interested in playing like a brand new game? I mean, I'm pretty sure development costs would be low because all you're doing is creating a single like game, but then it's like using the 3D. So it's possible. Like, do you think there's potential, Cliff, for like a new game? Someone comes around and says, I'm gonna develop something for this. It's a platform again. You know what I mean? And sell it. You could totally do it, right?
So to answer your question, absolutely. I would take any game for any console that's old school if but whether or not Nintendo will allow people to use their technology, that I
Right.
don't know. Like, because
I'm
I
just
know, like,
thinking of a Shovel Knight port like to that. I'm
yeah,
like, Clay would buy that. I would buy that. I might buy the Virtual Boy to play that to buy that. You know what I mean?
yeah, right.
What do you think, David? Anything's gonna get you to buy this thing for $100?
Um, it's hard to justify it when I would rather play these games not with the headset, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool novelty, but if I really want to play Wario Land Virtual Boy, and I'm actually kind of disappointed that it can't do this. It's like, why can't I just blow that up on my 60-inch TV and play it that way?
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
and if I really want to play the games in a different method, I could put it on some kind of handheld device that I may or may not own. But like, it's hard for me to see this being the preferred way to experience any of these games.
Yeah.
Whereas I was perfectly happy to spend money on like the N64 controller or even the Super Nintendo controller, because I feel like that makes it more the preferred way to play. But I don't really feel that with this, to be honest.
There's like a future facing company that like made this originally. Um, we want Nintendo to be that, that's a good thing. Um, there is a rewind function that was interesting that I had read about, Clay. Did you use that in any of the games? Because I think that that's crazy that you can. I love the save state stuff that they do, like with NSO stuff, but rewind function on this system, you've used it. Can you tell me about that?
I mean, it's the same as the rewind function on any of the
Okay,
online. I think Super Nintendo
that's
and
pretty
the
cool.
other ones have it. So it's nice. I don't use it. I just kind of play the games, and I use the save states. I've definitely been using those. I mean, this thing literally runs like any of the other ones. You hit the two shoulder buttons, it pulls up a menu. You can do, suspend states or whatever they call them. You can go back to the menu. You can, I think there's even a way to look at the controls. I haven't figured out where the controls are at, but I know they're there. I've seen it in the trailer. But yeah, I haven't really messed with the rewind a whole lot unless I was like trying to get through a game and it was super duper hard, like on NES or something. I might use like rewind, but it just kind of feels cheap. So I don't really use it a whole lot. But there's a lot of things they had to think through with this game, with bringing this here, because the way it works, as far as I can tell, is when it goes into this 3D mode, it's the same with like Breath of the Wild when you go into that like VR mode, which I've never tried. I'll have to try it now that I have this thing. But it basically creates two images on your Switch, and they're real tiny, and then when you put it in there, it like zooms those in, right? And so you're only using like a small part of the screen, basically. But then there was things they had to think through, like, how when you're playing your Switch and David jumps on his Switch and it says
like, beep, beep.
David's online.
Yeah.
Well, they needed that to be able to still be a thing on here, but if they would just put it up there normally, it would look really bad. And so they actually had to create a user interface for like notifications that pop up. And so it's all pixelate. It looks all 32-bit or whatever. And it's all red, and it popped up in the corner. And I thought it was part of the game at first. I was like, what is this? And then I realized, oh, that's my Switch telling me that my friend's online. But it looked like it belonged on the Virtual Boy. It was red. It was all pixelated. It even like tried to do their like user icon in red pixels. I got all giddy about that. It's just such a small thing, but they knew they couldn't just throw this bright colored non 3D thing up there. It would just be like super jarring every time something would pop up. So there's just stuff like that where it took a little extra time and effort to like think through all of it and design it all. But same with when you quit out. If you're in there, it like warns you like, hey, you can't just quit back to the main menu by hitting home until you actually take the thing out of the headset and then touch it on the touchscreen. Then it would allow you to go to the main menu, because it doesn't want you to go to the main menu while you're looking through it, because it would just be not 3D and like it'd be really jarring and stuff. And so I appreciate the thought that they put into this. They actually spent some time making sure that this was a good experience for people. And so I'm going to call my brother and tell him he needs to get one of these things too. I think anyone who's a Nintendo collector who's never played one or doesn't have one, they should grab one of these. I think it's worth having, personally.
Amazing. To wrap it up, question for both of you. In my mind, this is like nostalgic, tech, weird Nintendo. And the other thing that came to mind to me was the Power Glove. Do you think that this is cooler, or is the Power Glove cooler? David.
I'll say this is cooler just because I never understood the Power Glove at all. It looks more like a fashion accessory than an actual practical product. It's cool, but
Hot
at least this has
take.
utility.
Hot take from David Double D. Clay.
I agree with David. This is way cooler.
Oh my God. I was going to say the Power Glove because in that movie, you know what I'm talking about? What's the name of the movie? What was the movie? The Chosen? Not The Chosen. Oh my God. I'm going to
It's got Ben Savage in it, right?
Yeah. The Power Glove movie. That's what I'm going to refer to it.
Power Glove.
But anyway, this was a very amazing discussion. I want to thank Clay for investing in this, for scouting it out. I am so happy that Nintendo is weird again. And next time, on the next episode, we are going to be talking about Mario Tennis Fever. So please be sure to tune into that. I played it, Clay's played it, and it is surprising to say the least. So we'll see you next time, everybody, on the next exciting episode of Switch Talk 2.